All right, we're here with Matt DeAngelis, who grew up in Boston, decided at 8 he wanted to become an actor, made his way down to New York, opened in Broadway on Hair, did it many places around the country, and just got back from the American Idiot tour last summer. Why don't you talk a little bit about your background? I know you were also into sports.
Yeah, I grew up in just near Boston, about 20 minutes north of the city. I grew up going to see shows at North Shore Music Theater, which was a big inspiration to me. Did my first show at 8 years old. I was in Godspell at my local high school. I grew up pretty much exclusively doing theater and playing basketball, which I ended up playing a little bit in college at University of Southern Maine, and then transferred to the Boston Conservatory, where I majored in musical theater full-time. Obviously, they don't have a basketball team. And from there, I moved to New York in 2004, March of 2004, and I booked Hair on Broadway in June of 2009. I did the show as a swing on Broadway for a year, a little less than a year, and then I went to London with the show for 6 months in the ensemble. The last month and a half of London, I took over the role of Wolf, which I then went on tour as Wolf here in America, and then we went back to Broadway. I stayed Wolf, and then back on tour again. So all told, I did 850 performances of Hair and like 600 and something as Wolf.
And how many of them did you have to get naked when you were in them?
Oh yeah.
And now, what was that like as one of your first big roles to have to be naked on stage?
I'd already done Hair before, regionally, and nudity and sex and sexuality have never really been an issue for me. Like, I'm very open and I'm very free, and if I didn't get arrested for it, I'd be naked right now. But I enjoy that moment in the show because it's not sexual in nature. Not that I don't enjoy things that are sexual in nature, but that moment is about purity and oneness and togetherness, and it's a final moment of protest. It's a desperate attempt to show people that we're all the same. That when you take away the fancy clothes or the not fancy clothes, or if you take away the money or the poor people, whatever sort of sociological layer that you can put on somebody, if you strip all that away, we're all exactly the same. We all have a heart, we all have a brain, and we all love, and we all are afraid of things, and we all fight things, and we all believe in things, and we all... So there's more that makes us the same than makes us different. I think that moment is about that, and not like everybody like snickers and it's the naked part and blah blah. But I think it's really, really special and moving in that moment.
That philosophy must help you a lot in your acting, because you must be emotionally available pretty much to do anything on stage.
I struggle as an actor sometimes to like be completely emotionally available, but I think it's important to try to live your life, even if you're not an actor, with a kind heart and like an open spirit. And that sounds like, oh, that guy's been doing Hair for too long. But I've always tried to live my life with openness and kindness. And I think that if you do decide to be in the arts, I think that that's a really important thing too. But I think it's more important as a human than it is as an artist.
What was it like going on the road for you? I know you said you've done the show in England, and you've done American Idiot around the country.
Yeah.
What is it like for you to travel instead of being based in New York? Do you favor one over the other, or?
Well, obviously, you make more money on the road, but I favor being in New York. I mean, there's literally, as cynical and as jaded as we all can get. They always say, if you want to hear an actor complain, just give him a job. But for as cynical as we can all get sometimes, there is literally no feeling in the world. Like, they get on the microphone, they say, ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes. It's Saturday night on Broadway. There is just no feeling like that, like performing in a Broadway theater on a Saturday night. There's an electricity that you can't explain to people. It's really magical. But touring is great. Like, I have friends that have moved all over the country. It's great to reconnect with people. It's great to see new places, and you're making money, and you have your days free, so you're able to sightsee and I've seen the Grand Canyon, and I've gone into the San Jacinto Mountains, and I've been in the Rockies, and I've ridden up in the St. Louis Arch, and I've seen America's largest aquarium in Atlanta. The Atlanta Aquarium is the biggest one in the United States. I've been to Wrigley Field. I've been in Chicago. I was in Chicago when they dyed the river green for St. Patrick's Day. Like, you start to get some really cool stuff piling up as far as like life experience and seeing things and meeting people. It's hard living out of a suitcase. It's hard doing a show that's really physical, like American Idiot or Hair, and then getting on an airplane after 8 shows and then doing 8 more shows and then a day off. It's a grind, but it's a job, and it's great, and I'm fortunate to have been able to work the places that I've been able to work, and I played a month at the Kennedy Center. A really cool moment was, so that production of Godspell that I've already mentioned, this girl named Karen Lynn Manuel, now she's Karen Lynn Tackett, was in that. And you might recognize her name from Brooklyn, Times They Are Changin', High Fidelity, Rent, Les Mis, and to name some others. I can't remember all the things she's been in on Broadway. She went to my high school. I've known her for 22 years. She was a sophomore when I was 8. And she played Sheila in Hair. And we were standing center stage at the Kennedy Center. We grew up less than a mile away from each other. Her mother was my lunch lady. And we held hands in center stage looking out at the Opera House at the Kennedy Center. I said, who'd have thunk that 2 kids from Boxford, Mass. Would be about to sing solos at the Kennedy Center. And that was really, really neat. And to be able to do that entire tour with her, and now her daughter, was just crazy to me. And I went on as, I was understudy Berger, even though I was Wolf, and I went on as Berger opposite her Sheila in Boston when we were home, and all of our family came and all this stuff. It was such a blessing, and such a rare blessing to be able to do a show like that, which is so moving and opening, and you know, it just, that show climbs inside of you anyway. And to be able to do it with someone I loved and trusted and respected that much, she's the reason I do professional theater. She was my idol. She went on to major musical theater in college, and then she went, the first professional show I ever saw, she was Eponine in the Les Mis tour, and I saw her in that at the Colonial Theater in Boston, and I was off to the races, and I wanted to be an actor. And so to be able to be in the show with her was absolutely incredible.
Now, what would you say to somebody who's watching this and, you know, either looking to you for advice, or, you know, I read a little bit about your bio. You're a very proud member of Actors Equity.
Yes.
What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about joining, or even, you know, just sticking it out and pursuing a career in acting?
Well, I think those are 2 different questions. I think we'll answer the union one first because it's a shorter answer, but there is not a lot of difference between an equity and non-equity actor. If you take one person for one person. I think if you take the breadth of equity actors versus the breadth of non-equity actors, I think that the breadth of equity actors is probably better, but I think that has to do with a lot of things. It has very little to do with talent quotient. It has to do with experience. It has to do with, you know, relationships. It has to do with training. It has to do with a lot of things, and that's on-the-job training, because a lot of non-equity kids went to really good musical theater programs. I always say, there's probably more work for you if you stay non-equity. But if you want to challenge yourself and swim in the big kids pool, then I think that you always should join equity, maybe even before you think you're ready. Like, because I moved to New York because I wanted to be on Broadway, and I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to make a difference in this community, in this industry, you know, and I never would have ever thought to come here and kind of do it halfway. I got my card as soon as I could get it, and then I challenged myself because it's harder. There's more people who, you know, have been in this business for a long time. You're competing against a much more high-speed crew of people, you know. But I wanted the challenge, and maybe that's because I grew up playing sports. I don't know, but I never for a minute didn't want to challenge myself that way. So, but it is a risk, and I think that you always, like when it comes to getting an agent, when it comes to picking a school, if you're going to college, you know, for musical theater, if it comes to joining the union, you'll know. Just listen to your heart and listen to kind of where your career is headed and what your type is, and be honest with yourself about your ability. And if you do all those things, you will join all of those things when it's the right time. As far as advice for young actors in general, this is really cliche, but I think it's really apropos. Like, if you can picture yourself being happy doing anything else, do that instead. That doesn't mean, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from being an actor, because I wouldn't want to do anything else with my life. But it's a really tough business, and they say there's a lot of rejection, and that's not true. There's a lot of being ignored. You don't get rejected almost ever. Almost never do you hear no. Like, you're bad, we don't want you. It's more like you go on 1 million dates and never get a second date with anybody until you do. It's more that, like, wishing you knew what they were thinking. It's like when you're in puppy love with somebody, you know?
Right.
It's a tough business, but if you love it, there's nothing like it. And the proudest thing about where I'm at in my career now, which is middle of the road at best, I would say at this point, I am so proud of the people that I moved to New York with. Like, you'll find if you move here and become an artist, like, you'll establish a little group, and there's that old saying, a rising tide lifts all ships, you know? And all the people that I moved to New York with and was young and hungry and didn't know anything with, like, we were all just, oh, this is fun, we're going to be actors. If you look around, they're all achieving now. Like there was when I was on Broadway this summer 2011, there was 3 people from my class at the Boston Conservatory playing leads on Broadway. I was playing Wolf, Mika Lanzarone was playing Velma in Chicago, and Nick Adams was playing the lead in Priscilla. And I look around at Jonathan Reed Gelt, the singer, the musical theater composer, was in my class at school. And Jason Michael Snow was my college roommate, and now he's in Mormon, and he was in South Pacific. And you know, all these people that I was in the trenches with are now achieving.
Yeah.
And that's just an amazingly proud feeling for me.
And what are you currently working on that we can look forward to?
Well, I just finished the lab, which for all of you union aficionados out there, you'll know what that is. It's sort of a workshop, except with a couple of twists and turns from a contractual perspective. But I did the pre-Broadway lab of The Last Goodbye, which is Romeo and Juliet with classical text set to Jeff Buckley music. And I played Benvolio, Heath Calvert played Mercutio, Andrew Call played Tybalt, Wallace Smith played the Prince, Laura Dreyfus played Juliet, Will Connolly played Romeo, and some wonderful older actors like Sally Murphy. If you don't know her career, look it up. She's amazing. She was Lady Capulet. It was wonderful. And Alex Timbers directed. Sonia Tyre from So You Think You Can Dance did all the choreography. And we had Kate Waters, who's one of the only 2 certified female fight directors in the UK and works with the Royal Shakespeare Company, do our fight choreography. So it was an incredible experience. We built it from the ground up. We did 7 big chunks of the show, hoping that it will move forward. None of us know anything, but it was a blast to work on. And if any of you out there hear about it, that it's going to be done anywhere, run, don't walk. It is one of the most interesting, innovative pieces of theater I've ever been around, and it's going to be something special.
Well, we hope to see you on stage soon. You're a great guy, and it was awesome talking to you.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.